Let's talk about random experiment. Before rolling a die, you do not know the result. This is an example of random experiment. In a particular, a random experiment is a process by which we observe something is uncertain. We observe something is uncertain. After the experiment, the result of the random experiment is known. An outcome is a result of a random experiment. So an outcome is a result from a random experiment. The set of all possible outcomes is called sample space. In the set form, we could know that the sample space is our universal set. So this represents our universal set. So let's look at some random experiments and their sample space. So the first random experiment we're going to look at is toss a coin. So when you toss a coin, what will be the sample space? For the sample space, you're going to know that when you toss a coin, we are going to either have a head or a tail. And it's usually represented by this in a curly bracket. Let's move on to the second one. When you roll a die, the sample space here is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's move on. Another random experiment. Observe the number of Tecno phones sold by the Tecno company in Ghana in 2018. So the sample space will be 0, 1, 2, 3 to infinity. So when we repeat a random experiment several times, we call each one of them a trial. So when you see a trial, it's a repetition of what? A random experiment. A trial is a particular performance of a random experiment. And in example, tossing a coin, each trial will result either a head or a tail. Note that the sample space is defined based on how you define your random experiment. So let's take an example from here, from random experiment. So example. So we toss a coin 3 times and observe the sequence of head and tail. So in this case, we are trying, it's a random experiment and we are trying to provide the sample space. So when you toss a coin 3 times, the sample space here may be defined as, so 3 times you're going to have it to be either head, 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 or you're going to have head, head, and tail, or you're going to have head, tail, head, or you're going to have tail, head, head, or head, tail, tail, or you're going to have tail, head, tail, or you're going to have tail, tail, head, or you're going to have tail, tail, tail. Our goal here is to assign a probability to a certain event. For example, suppose that we would like to know the probability that the outcome of a rolling a fair die is an even number. In this case, our event will be, event will be 2, 4, 6. because the sample space of rolling a die will be 1, 2, 3 up to 6, and we are now focusing on what? Our even number. If the result of our random experiment belongs to the set of E, we say that the event has occurred. So if our random experiment that we did, the result is in the set of E, say that the event has what? Here. Now, an event is a collection of what? Possible outcomes. So event, when you hear event, is a collection of possible outcomes. In other words, an event is a subset of a sample space to which we assign a probability. So now let's look at certain definitions, some definitions that you should know the random experiment. So first, we're going to look at outcome. When we talk about outcome, that is a result of a random experiment. And when we look at sample space, it's the set of possible outcomes. Then we move on to event. When we talk about event, a subset of the sample space.